Hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. Basically, this is the AWS Zero to Master series, and we are focusing on the complete AWS services in this playlist. So, if you can see, I am just uploading all the video one by one. I am just recommending you to check it out my video one by one so that you can get more idea about that AWS services. So in a today's session, we're going to discuss about that one of the concept called the internal application load balancer. So if you can remember in the past few sessions, we have been discussed more about that application load balancer with the internet base, along with that listener role and target groups, and we have been discussed more about that. So in a today's session, we will be discuss about the internal load balancer, how it will be working on the AWS. So let us start. So before start the session, let us quickly recall over that application load balancer with internet facing, how we have been configured. Basically, there will be application load balancer configured on the AWS one of the region. So on a backend, we have been configured multiple EC2 instance, and those EC2 instance have been attached into the target group. So basically, on the AWS application load balancer level, we have been configured that listener rule, and it would be redirect the traffic to the concerned target group. So if you can remember that all the AWS services we have been deployed within a VPC. So basically we have used that US East one as our primary region. There we have been deployed, like we have only one VPC. On the VPC level, we have deployed all the application load balancer and the EC2 instance, everything. So in a end user perspective, if the user trying to access that load balancer using that domain name, so it should be work because like the load balancer will be resolve that DNS over the internet. So basically, we have been accessed our application load balancer over the internet. So that is why it's called that internet-based load balancer. So basically, if we have any kind of requirement, we need to be configure that web application or any other application within that internet base. We can configure like this way, and it will be like work it on that over the internet. So as I mentioned in the today's session, we're going to discuss about that internal load balancer. So we will see it like how we can configure that internal load balancer and what is the main difference between that internet facing load balancer and the internal load balancer. So that basically we are going to be deployed that load balancer with the internet with the internal load balancer, not an internet base. So in the backend, like I have two EC2 instances running on that. We're gonna like create a target group on the listener group level. We are going to be redirect the traffic to the consent target group. So basically, load balancer would traffic forward the traffic to consent target group. So as I mentioned, this will be come under the internal load balancer. So basically all the services would be configured within a VPC. So we are gonna take it at the US East as the primary region. Inside the region, I have one of the one VPC. So within a VPC, we are gonna deploy that application load balancer with a private subnet along with that those EC2 instances also will be running on the private subnet. So apart from that, we're going to deploy that one of the EC2 instance, so we can call it as the gem server. Since the reason why we are deploying the gem server, basically we need to be access that load balancer in an internal local network. So when the user trying to access with the load balancer domain name using the Gembox server, we should be get the response. In case if the any user trying to access with the DNS over the internet, it will not work since we are configuring as the internal load balancer, so the over the internet, the DNS will not be resolved. So that's the reason we are going to be deploy that one of the EC2 instance, and we're gonna access those load balancer. So basically, this will help us in case if we have any kind of environment, the application should be working on the internal on-premises or yeah, like only the local network level, or else if we have any kind of multi-tier application, in the front end, we need to be deploy that web application on the front internet base space, and the back end database server we should be configured on that only the internal network. So for those situations, we can configure that internal load balancer, and those internal load balancer will be accessible only the local network. So that is the way we are going to achieve this like uh, demo. So as I mentioned in today's session, we're going to focus only the load balancer perspective. But on the VPC level, I'll just showcase you how we can create a private subnet and we can configure the route table. But in a future session, I'll just walk you through that all the VPC level, VPC subnet, and internet gateway, all the things. I'll just like walk you through that on the VPC. So in the today's session, our motto is to focusing on that application load balancer with the internal configuration. So let us start. I'll just to quickly jump into the console. So we will start out to creating that load balancer with the local internal load balancer. So I'm in a North Virginia region, and if you can see, I have a two web server running on that. So both two server, I have already deployed that HTTPD service using the user data. So if you need a help to deploy that EC2 with your HTTPD service, the user data, I have been uploaded those videos into my previous session. You can just look into my those videos. Should be get more idea about that. So basically, this EC2 instance I have deployed on the private subnet. I don't have any public IP, and the private IP is 214. So if we can check it on the subnet 661, so this is the VPC console. So basically, if you can see the 661 is the name of the custom subnet. If you are checking the route table of that particular subnet, so this is the route table I have attached into the particular subnet. So this is the custom subnet I have already attached. So basically what will happen, this route table will be validate the routes. Based on the route, it will forward the traffic. If you can see, I have only local route only. That means the traffic will be sent out to the particular VPC level only. This is the VPC address 172.31.0.0. So 172.31.0.0. So apart from that, if you need to be sent like connect with any of the other network, it will not work. So as I mentioned, today we are going to be more like check create a load balancer with internal. So that's the reason I just deployed that EC2 instance with the private subnet. So now we will try to create a load balancer. So before creating the load balancer, we should be ensure that at least two subnets, private subnets should be running on that particular VPC. I have only one subnet. That this is the private subnet. If you are just creating without like a private subnet, we should be get some kind of warnings. So I am in a load balancer control. Just to click on the create load balancer, and basically we are focusing on the application load balancer. The load balancer name internal app. And here we need to be select the internal. So in a earlier session, we have deployed with the internet. Just to look into my those video if you need a help on that. So today we are going to be see about the internal. So the network mapping, as I mentioned, we have only one VPC running on that particular region. If you can see, this is the 41 ID of the T41. So ID is D41. Okay. So basically, once we select that VPC, we should be select at least two availability zone subnet. So I'm just selecting that zone 1A and 1B. When I'm just selecting, we are getting some kind of warning. The reason behind that, the both region, I don't have any like I have been selected that any of the private subnet. Both subnet has been that public subnet. So that is the reason the internet will be like received into the application load balancer level. But as I mentioned, this is the like demo we are going to be achieve. So as I mentioned, inside the VPC, we are going to be deployed with the application load balancer in a local like a subnet. So then if any user trying to access over the internet, it will not resolve over the internet. Only inside the Jambox server we can access those like a load balancer. So that is the reason we need to be create this like a private subnet when we are going to be deployed that application load balancer with the internal configuration. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to be created two subnets first. So go to that VPC. So already I have that enough IP address. Just we need to be calculate 172.31.0.0. Basically, like there are some kind of VPC running. So I'm just going to be like create a new subnet within the range of the VPC. So I'm just selected at the VPC ID, and the VPC CADR is their one, and subnet private subnet one. So availability zone, I'm going to be create as the US East to 1K. This is the availability zone I'm going to be using. And the CADR range will be like 172, 31, 100.0 plus 24. So don't worry about that. I'll just take you up on the all the configuration, how we can configure that VPC subnet and how we can configure the CADR in upcoming session. So in today's session, we will just try to achieve that load balancer with the internal configuration. So I'm just creating one of the subnet within a one availability zone in the VPC. So let us create. The same way, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be create another subnet for another availability zone. So just click create our subnet and click on that VPC. And here I'm just creating a private subnet 2 and availability zone. Yeah, like first one we have created a 1A and we are going to be created with the 1B. And the subnet CADR is 172.31.101.0/24. Like basically the CADR we need to be calculated based on that the CADR value. Sorry, IP value we need to be calculated based on the CADR. I'll just tell you that shortcuts how we can calculate using some kind of tool in that Google. We can see check it on that once we started to learn about that VPC. So this is the subnet. So basically, I have a two subnets running on, like created with the private. So both two subnets is running on that 1A and 1B. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to be attach these two like a subnet into the private subnet route table. So go to the route table and existing I have one of the private subnet route table. So I'm going to be attach click on that route table and I'm going to attach that subnet into the route table. So to do that, just to go to that subnet association and edit the subnet association. So just click on attach that to subnet. So that's it. So basically we have a three subnets run, like attached into the particular route. If you can see the route, this will be like only connected the VPC level. We don't have access over the internet. So go back to your load balancer just to refresh that VPC. So now select that like availability zone. Instead of the default one, I'm going to be select the private subnet one, which is the one we have been created on a 1A, and the second one B. Basically, we have created a private subnet B. So you can see now we are not getting that any warnings. When we are selecting with the public subnet only, it's showing the error. The internet traffic will be allowing to the load balancer level. So the private subnet. So only two enough. So if you need, you can just create with the multiple availability zones. And security group instead of default, what I'm going to do, I'm going to be use that ALBH. This is the one I have been created in the earlier session. So this will be allowed that HTTP service in the HTTP and HTTP services port level. So what was so listener. So here we are going to be attach those two EC2 instance into the particular target group itself. So I don't have any target. So just click on the target group. So I have uploaded all the video related target group and listener role in the positive view session. You can just check it out how we can create the listener and target group. So basically the target we are going to be create for target group for the instance. So the protocol is HTTP, that's enough. And VPC by default, I have only one VPC. And health check by default, we are going to be leave it. We are not going to be change it anything. Okay, target group name, internal target. So next. So here I'm going to attach the two EC2 instances running on the North Virginia. So click on the two instance and include as pending below. So just create target group. So let us wait. Yeah, this that unused. That means we didn't attach this target group into the load balancer. Just to go back to your application load balancer and just refresh. So here we can get it that target group, which is the one we have been created. So I have been selected. So that's all about the changes. So only the things we need to be select that internal load balancer. Along with that, we need to be choose that internal private subnet. So just to click on that create a load balancer. So basically, it will take us some time to complete this process that to creating application load balancer. In the meantime, I'll just quickly jump into the console. So basically, we are going to be trying to access over the internet. Along with that, we need to be accessed internally. So for that, we need one EC2 instance. We are going to be access load balancer using the instance. So we need to be deploy the one gem server. So let us try to deploy on the EC2 console. So we will create that one jump server with a Windows flavor so that we can easily try to access our load balancer using that Windows flavor. So now click on launch instance and just create that name jump server Windows. The flavor I'm going to be selected that Windows as the flavor. Okay, and the instead of T2 micro, I'm just selecting at the T2 medium, and the key pair. I'm just selecting at that Windows key. No, no, not a Windows key. I'm just creating that key. So basically, Windows new. So just click on create. So all these configuration I have been uploaded in my playlist. So just look into those videos if you need any help on that. So in the today agenda, we are going to focus on only that internal load balancer creation. So along with that, I'm not going to be change anything, any network configuration by default. It will be deploy one of the subnet. The security group, I'm going to be select that existing one, that EC2 HTTP. So just to click on launch instance. So let us wait for a few seconds to complete. Okay. Yeah, it's in the pending state. Uh, in the meantime, we will just validate that whether the load balancer has been deployed or not. So now you can see the load balancer has been deployed. So there is that active state, but the scheme is that internal. We are not created with the internet facing. So in case if you can see the DNS name, the internal app. So that means that this will be working on the internal. If I am just trying to access using the HTTP. So if you can see, it will not work since we have been configured with the internal, so that only the within the VPC only we can access the load balancer. So let us try to access one sec. Let I'll just quickly jump into that PPT. So basically, we are trying to access over the internet. It's blocking the network since the load balancer don't have a internet connectivity. That means the DNS resolve will not be work. So now we are going to be access using the jump server. So to quickly jump into that console. So I'm back to that instance. Now the instance are up and running. So we will try to connect this instance and we will try to connect that application load balancer inside the Jamba. So to do that, just click on the connect and going to be that remote RTP client. So I'll just a better way, I'll just try to download the desktop file and I'm going to be decrypt the password first. So I'll just upload that key file first. So basically, this is the key. This is the key I have been copied from that on the in key pair. So you can decrypt the password. So now I have a password. So just to copying the password and just opening that RDP client. This is the RDP I have been download. So the password will be this is the one I have been copied. Just to click on the connect. So click on the yes. So before that, I'll just try to copy that DNS name of the application load balancer. So go to that application load balancer. So just click on the load balancer and copy the DNS. Okay, now I'm just switching into that RDP client. So now what we are going to do, we are going to be access those load balancer in a, inside the Jumbo. So let us try. So I'll just try with the HTTP protocol. This is the load balancer. Yeah. Now we can see I when I'm just trying to like access that load balancer DNS inside the jumper, I can get it that response. So this is the first mission I respond. If I'm just refreshing, like it will be like send the traffic to the another. But in case if I'm just trying to access over the internet, so let us try to access over the internet. So now we can see the like connectivity will not be there. So that means we have been deployed that application load balancer within a like internal load balancer within a VPC. So what will happen within a VPC if any mission trying to access using the browser, it will be work. But in case if any user trying to access over the internet, it will not work. So basically, as I mentioned, this will be help us in case if we are going to be deploy any kind of application, like inside that premises, only should be work it on that the local IP. So we can go with that local internal load balancer that will be help us with more secure. So that's all about the today's session. If you still need any help on that to create a load balancer with the internal and to access that internal load balancer within a VPC, you can just feel free to leave a comment on this comment section so that I'll just take you up in that upcoming playlist. So once again, thanks for watching my channel. We'll see you in that upcoming session.